Hi everybody. A lot of people have asked me, how do you make dal? Dal is a very simple bean or lentil dish that comes from India. It's extremely easy to make. Let me first show you what goes into dal. The first thing is to have what they call a lentil or bean. These are red lentils, also known as masoor dal. Then you need about half a head of garlic, a good chunk of fresh ginger, 2 onions, some olive oil, a medium can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. There's some basic spices that you'll want to use in the cooking, and they include black mustard seeds, cumin, coriander seeds, garam masala, salt, and pepper. And in terms of amounts, I use a couple teaspoons or a little more of the mustard seeds. I like cumin. Some people may not want as much. About a tablespoon of cumin, about a tablespoon of coriander, a teaspoon of the garam masala, and again, salt and pepper to taste. There are a few other things you may want to add, but with all of these, you'll make a good dal even if you don't have everything that's here. But I like to add a jalapeno that's been chopped up, some fenugreek seeds, maybe a teaspoon or so of turmeric powder that is, and then a teaspoon or perhaps more of crushed red pepper. So our first step is to get the dal, what we actually call the masoor dal or red lentils, to start them cooking. So I pour them, and these are 3 cups of red lentils. I put 3 cups of red lentils in 3 cups of water, and I just turn on the stove and start them simmering. Now,
3 quarts. You said 3 cups of water.
now I'm just being told by the camera lady that I said 3 cups of masoor dal in 3 quarts of water. Cut. So we've got our chopping done. Here's 2 onions chopped up, just about this size, give or take. Don't have to be precise. Here's the ginger, also kind of about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch in size. Same for the garlic, and same for the jalapeno. Now, before I start doing the onion, I'm going to put together some spices and roast them. So I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds, maybe a tablespoon of coriander, and a couple teaspoons of cumin. And I'm going to want to take these and grind them up a little bit in a mortar and pestle. Particularly the fenugreek and the coriander, you want to have them ground up a little bit so they're not whole seeds. So these I'm just grinding up and pounding a little bit. It's great if you have a nice deep mortar and pestle. Get them all ground up here. Maybe we'll give you a good view of these, give you a sense of how big they are. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put roughly 2 or 3 tablespoons of oil in the bottom of a pan. I think an enamel pan is good because at some point you're going to put the tomatoes in, and at that point you don't want to be in a cast iron pan. But at this point it really doesn't matter. We're going to heat up that oil a little bit, and then I want to take a moment and fry these spices when you fry them, that opens up the flavors a lot and will really help them taste just great. So it's very helpful to fry those a little bit, and mix them around in the oil. You wanna have them brown a little bit, but you don't want to burn them. I get them going, but I also add the ginger and the garlic, the jalapeno, and some people might fry the dry spices a little bit first, but I have to say I'm usually doing this on a Sunday afternoon, and I've got a few other things like reading the newspaper, so I do them all together and try and get it moving as quickly as I can. In a moment, once these are fried up a bit, we'll stir in the onions and begin to fry them up. So the onions, as you can see, they're beginning to cook down, and I have them on pretty high heat, so I'm stirring them very quickly. Now the lentils have used up most of the water here, so I have the tea kettle and I'm getting ready to add a little bit of water there. But also, as you can see, there's a fair amount of just kind of a scum on top of it. I don't know if there's really a problem with the scum, but I usually take a slotted spoon and just sort of take some of this off the top and stick it in a bowl and throw it away. All right, well, it's about an hour later and we're about to start the most magical part, but a couple of things. We've had the dal now just simmering, and when I say simmer, you want to have it on the very lowest heat because otherwise the bottom's going to burn. And as you can see, this is pretty, it's sort of medium thick, but as it ages a little bit, it'll become thicker. So now the most magical part is to make something called the tadka. And this is a finishing blend of spices and ghee, but you can use olive oil, you can use other oils, but I'm going to use ghee, which is clarified butter, to make the tadka. And to do that, and I will just say, I like a richly flavored dal. Some people will want to have it milder. But I start out by putting a little short of a teaspoon of coriander into the mortar and pestle. And now you may not have a mortar and pestle. You can use a coffee grinder, you can use a blender, you can buy these spices already ground. You don't have to have a mortar and pestle, but I'm going to mix these. First, grind up some of the coriander. I want to get it a little bit because it's not going to cook as much, but so I'm going to grind it a little bit more than I did before. And get it into a good mixture. Then I'm going to put in, roughly a couple teaspoons of cumin. Again, this is all to taste. A couple teaspoons of mustard seeds, and then something called garam masala, which is a mixture of a number of spices, but including things like cinnamon and cloves, and adds a great finishing touch. And we're going to take these, I just mix them up a little bit, and then I take a small cast iron frying pan. I pour in some of the ghee or clarified butter, depending on how much you want. You can use more or less. Ghee is a great way to finish this off to make the tadka. We're going to heat it up, and then we're going to take these spices. And again, I probably use more than most people in doing this. We're just going to let these heat up a little bit, and I will stir them around. And this is the magical part of making the dal, because you have, with everything you've done, some really great flavors. But then when you take these spices and put them in, it just brightens and lightens and rounds out the flavor in ways that are really very unique. And we'll turn this down just a little bit, but we let this begin to heat up and sizzle, and when they begin to toast, and one of the things is the mustard seeds will actually begin to pop, so I'm going to put a lid on them and we'll just heat this up for a few minutes. Okay, so the tadka is cooking now, and you can just, if you listen carefully, maybe you can hear the mustard seeds popping. So I'm going to take off this top, and as you can see, it has a nice brown color. I swirl it around, and then I pour it over the top of the dal and stir it in. We just mix that oil and all the spices, and again, this is the most magical. It gives it just a fabulous flavor, and as you do this, you can figure out what you like the best. And now we'll give it a taste and see how it's doing. And if I do say so, that's a pretty good dal. Thank you.